Today we're going to be showing you the top 5 taillight options for your Toyota Tacoma. We're going to be going over the installation process. We're going to show you all of the light features and see how they compare to one another and test to see which one of these taillights is the brightest. The taillights that we're going to be reviewing today are the Winjet LED taillights for $200, the XT LED taillights for $240, the Spider Auto taillights for $360, the Alpharex Lux Series sequential LED taillights for $430, and finally, the Miso Customs Ultimate taillights for $650. Now that you have seen all the taillights that we're going to be reviewing today, we're going to show you how to install them. If you want to skip the install process, make sure to use the chapter markers below. The only tools you're going to need is a 10mm socket and ratchet, or you could use your impact driver to make things quicker. Let's get started. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is remove the 2 bolts that are holding the taillight in place. It's gonna be the one that's at the top of the headlight right here, and the one that's all the way at the bottom, by using your 10mm socket. Now you're going to insert your hand underneath the taillight so you can get a nice grab, and then on top, and you're going to pull back. It's gotta be simultaneous. It's gonna sound nasty, but it's gonna be all right. Now we're going to remove these 3 connectors by twisting them counterclockwise. This is going to remove the bulbs. Just like that, we have removed our taillight. Now there's something for you to take note here. Depending on your taillight's manufacturer, there's going to be 2 connectors that you're dealing with. One of them is going to be female and the other one's going to be male. Depending on which one you received, you're going to have to modify the connector. So either you're going to have to remove the bulb to keep that connector, or you're gonna have to remove this piece in order to reach the other style of connector. For example, we've had customers reach out to us and say, hey, you sent me the wrong taillights. The connector does not fit my year model, and that's wrong. They just simply need to remove the split connector that they have, and it's going to fit. In other situations, they've been like, hey, this connector does not fit my Tacoma, but again, because they might have removed the split connector, and if they would have left it, they would have seen that it does fit their taillights. So just make sure you take note of that you are aware that there's 2 different options for you to connect your aftermarket taillights. Now, when you're installing your aftermarket taillights, make sure you leave the shrink wrap on the taillight, and that should be the last thing that you remove, just in case you're going to be putting it down. You don't want to scratch the lens. Now we're going to be moving on to installing the most budget-friendly taillight on our list, the Winjet LED taillights. Now, as you guys can see here, for these 2 top connectors, we had to remove the bulb and that split connector in between. And the one all the way at the bottom, we're actually going to be using that stock bulb. So we're going to remove this tape that it comes with. We're going to insert this connector, and we're gonna twist it clockwise, so that's nice and tight there. And then we're just gonna plug and play. Make sure it clicks. Just like that, you have wired your taillights. We're gonna align it, make sure that it's perfectly aligned. We're gonna do one quick push. There we go. And then all we have to do is put the bolts back in. First, I like to hand tighten, make sure that the bolt has gone in nicely. That way we don't strip it. Make sure you don't over tighten it. You don't want to strip it. And then the last thing you do is remove the shrink wrap, and then you just have to repeat that same process on the other side, and you, my friends, have installed a brand new set of taillights on your Toyota Tacoma. As you just saw, these taillights are super easy to install, way easier than installing the headlights, and the process of installing them is pretty much the same throughout all aftermarket taillights. Now let's go over the light features of each taillight. First up is the most budget-friendly option from our list, the Winjet LED taillights. I really like the Stormtrooper black and white look, and how even during the day, with the DRLs off, the DRL housing is white and gives the truck an accent color. Here are the DRLs on. As you guys can see, the shape of the DRL housing has a modern aesthetic. I love the positioning of the brake light. The turn signal I thought were a little weak since they just used one small LED strip instead of utilizing more of the entire taillight. For the reverse lights, Winjet kept the stock positioning similar to that OEM look, and I think it looks decent. Next up is the XT LED taillight. Love the shape of the DRL. They went for the same shape of the stock taillight, but it's more angular and modern. Also love the positioning of the brake light and how all 21 LEDs turn on when you hit the brakes. For the turn signals, it's nice how the majority of the taillight is used to activate the blinkers. The reflector on the side is very similar to the Winjet, just a little bigger with an additional reflector placed within the reverse light housing. For the reverse lights, they also have the OEM style, but the color temperature is more white because they come with their own LEDs in comparison to the stock, which have a yellowish tint. It adds to that modern look. Third up is the Spider Auto taillights. First impressions, love the look overall, like the positioning of the square DRLs and where each piece of the taillight fits. But I was disappointed when the lights turned on because the bottom square is used for the brake lights and the top square is used for the turn signals. They should utilize both squares for the turn signal and brakes. Although when I turned on the reverse lights, I was impressed with how bright they were in comparison to the rest of the taillights. And the reflectors were pretty basic, with one for the side and another on the back. Moving on to the Alpha X Lux Series sequential LED taillights. These do have a smoked out lens, and I must say it's the perfect amount of dark tint before they get too dark, where you cannot appreciate the inside of the taillight. The most impressive feature of this taillight is the light sequence it has when the DRLs are turned on. When the brake lights are activated, both the bottom and top LEDs turn on and the DRLs get brighter. The turn signals change the color of the entire taillight from red to yellow and have a repetitive smooth dissolve effect moving across the DRL. This video was filmed before receiving the new versions of these taillights. Therefore, only the top LEDs work with the turn signal. Our website is currently stocked with version 2 that activates both LED squares for the turn signals. As for the reflector, it's a single strip that wraps around the light, so there's not two reflectors, just one continuous design. And finally, we have the Miso Customs Ultimate taillights. The DRLs consist of 3 angular LED pipes, which are used for both the brake lights and the turn signals. When the brake lights are activated, the 3 LED pipes get brighter. The turn signals have a reverse sequential flash mode that to me personally looks a little jittery, but you do have the option to switch it to a standard flash during the installation. The reverse lights are impressive. They're almost like having headlights in the back of your truck. It really helps light up the video feed from the reverse camera. Now that we've gone over each taillight, let me show you them side by side so you can decide which one you like best. Here we have our DRLs, brake lights, turn signals, and reverse lights. Take this time to comment down below and let me know which one's your favorite. Now let's put these taillights to a light output test. We're filming these here in our warehouse where it's completely pitch black, and we're going to be measuring the light output of each taillight's DRLs at 3 feet away and reverse lights from 10 feet away. We have a light meter to measure the lux so we can find out which taillights technically is the brightest. We took all the measurements we needed. Now let's go over the results. For the DRLs, we can clearly see that the stock and XT DRLs were the brightest. Then came the Miso taillights, and the least brightest DRLs were the Winjet, Spider Auto, and Alpha X. But to be honest with you, this was not noticeable to the naked eye. If it was up to our eyes to decide, it would be hard to choose which DRL was the brightest. Also, before we keep going, I do want to mention that there is one taillight from the 5 that is at a disadvantage, and that is the Alpha X taillight due to its smoked out lens. Now for the reverse lights, we can clearly see a big difference. The 2 taillights with the weakest reverse lights were the Winjet and Alpha X taillights. The XT and Spider taillights were just as bright, if not brighter, than the stock taillights. The clear champion for this test was the Miso Custom taillights, leaving the competitors in the dust. If you're looking for the absolute brightest reverse lights, then the Miso custom taillights is the way to go. They look like freaking headlights from the back. Now it's time for us to decide which taillights are gonna be going on Project Great White, which is the truck that we'll be giving away at the end of the year once it's fully built out, plus $15,000 cash. Make sure to check out the link in the description below and get yourself entered to win. In my opinion, any of the taillight options we have shown you today will all look better than the horrendous chrome or red monochromatic taillights that come stock. If you're looking for the best budget-friendly option, I would go with the XDs because of their modern look and surprisingly bright light output. If you're okay with the price tag and are looking to have the brightest reverse lights in town, then go with the Miso custom taillights. For me, the most important factor is the overall look of the truck. So the taillights that we decided to go with is the Alpharex Lux Series sequential LED taillights in alpha black color. Yes, it did not perform the best in the light output test, but seeing each light in person, besides the Miso custom reverse lights, my eyes didn't notice enough of a difference in brightness for it to be a deciding factor. The Alpharex lights match the truck beautifully, giving it another black accent to our black and white themed Tacoma, and just check out the light feature one more time. So clean. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.